I'm Paula Ward, and this is Easy Knitting Design. This video is part 2 of shoulder shaping. When we knit our front V-neck, I had you leave the last inch for working your shoulder slope. Now what if your shoulder slope does not equal 1 inch? Let's say your shoulder slope is only a half an inch. In other words, you want to start working your shoulder slope up there. It will look something more like that. Well, that's easy. You will just knit this section straight up and then work your 1 or 2 short rows. What if your shoulder slope is greater than an inch, say 1.5 inches? You'll want your shoulder slope to look more like that. Didn't address this when I was making the video on knitting the V-neck because I wanted to keep it as simple as possible. Plan ahead a little and start your short rows at the same time you're working those last few V-neck decreases, and you're going to find your yarn marking your neckline decreases and these stitch markers marking your wrap and turns for your short rows. Very handy. Now let's take a look at Nikki's numbers. Looking at the measurement chart, the top neck edge to underarm yarn for Nikki is 8 inches. Her armhole depth is 7.5 inches. That means the slope is 1/2 inch. We're going to convert this 1/2 inch slope into a number of rows by multiplying it by our row gauge of 6.5 rows to the inch. That's going to give us 3.25 rows. So I'm going to round that to 4, divide it by 2 to get 2 short rows. So now we can fill in our first blank, then 2 short rows. Now let's figure out how many stitches in each of those short rows. First, we'll need the number of stitches in each shoulder. Now, if you've been following along with these videos, you'll know that we cast on 180 stitches for the entire body of Nikki's sweater. So half of that, or the front, is 90 stitches. So we have 90 stitches in our front. Next, we'll subtract the decreases for the armholes. Well, it was 11 stitches on each side, so that was 22 stitches for the armhole decreases, and the neckline decreases were 24 stitches on each side, so that's 48 stitches. We subtract all of these, we get 20 stitches for both shoulders, so we now know that each shoulder has 10 stitches on it. So we have 2 short rows that we're going to work over a shoulder that has 10 stitches in it. So we're going to add 1 to our number of short rows to get 3 sections on our shoulder. Now we take that 10 stitches, divide it by the 3 sections, and we get 3 with a remainder of 1. So each of our sections is going to have 3 stitches. We'll add our last one. So we're going to have short rows of 3 stitches each, starting 4 stitches from the armhole edge. We can fill in the rest of our blanks now. We're going to work 2 short rows of 3 stitches each, starting 4 stitches from the armhole edge. Okay, let's go on to part 3 and knit our shoulders.